Hey everybody, I'm Tim Mooney. If you're a student of theater, comedy, Shakespeare, Twelfth Night, or the character of Malvolio, or if you're looking for a great monologue to perform, you want to stick around and hear how you can finally get Malvolio. This week I'm gearing up for 2 performances of my one-man play Lotto Shakespeare. So I'm running through my collection of 38 Shakespeare monologues and 6 sonnets to gear up for whatever requests the audience might throw at me. There are prizes for the luckiest requests, and you can play along this Sunday and Monday, October 25th and 26th, and it's also available to perform for your school, theater, conference, or library via broadcast or hopefully in person soon. Swing by my website at timmoneyrep.com to check out our schedule. You can also check out lots of my previous takes on Shakespeare monologues, including discussions of The Comedy of Errors here and Richard III's Bloody Axe speech here. And if and when you decide you like this video, please hit like and subscribe for more. The Malvolio letter scene is one of the most famous scenes in all of Shakespeare comedy. It's a brilliant tour de force for the actor playing Malvolio, and it can work as a solo performance. Malvolio has no idea that he's being observed, so as far as he knows, he's delivering a soliloquy. Though, of course, the presence of those other actors observing him does make the speech that much more embarrassing and ironic. Malvolio is a dour, puritanical prude. His name means ill will in Italian. It's where we get the word malevolent. He spoils everyone's fun and breaks up their late-night parties, supposedly under the authority of his mistress, the Countess Olivia, with whom he happens to be in love. Of course, Olivia is literally out of his league. He is of the servant class, and she is a noble woman and has an upper-class suitor also courting her, the Duke Orsino. But Malvolio dreams big. We see the conflict between the size of his dreams and the very real limitations of his place in life. Ironically, it is Malvolio's fellow servant, Maria, whose drunken parties with Sir Toby Belch Malvolio saw fit to break up, who will climb the ladder out of servitude by marrying Sir Toby, a man well above her station. In truth, it is Malvolio's character. He's pretty much a pompous ass that keeps any dream of advancement impossible and that spins this monologue into comic gold. The very first challenge to any actor taking on this speech is to create the before character of Malvolio, the dour, stuffy prig, before he stumbles across the letter. He is a puritanical prude who thinks he has the right to tell everyone just how they ought to behave. How insufferable would Malvolio be if he ever actually got a little power? Maria has forged a letter, making it seem as if it has been written by her mistress, Olivia, leaving it for Malvolio to discover, even as Sir Toby and Sir Andrew hide behind the bushes to observe. It might help to think of this speech as if it were divided into 3 acts. 1. Malvolio pretentiously dreams of an impossible relationship. 2. Malvolio puts together the clues with growing excitement. And 3. Malvolio triumphs over his great fortune. Act 1. Malvolio enters pretentiously contemplating a relationship with the Countess Olivia. Apparently, she once said something nice about his complexion, and she seems to treat him with a greater respect than the other servants get. He dares to speak aloud his great dream, and Shakespeare combines 2 words that, when spoken with the proper combination of aspiration and vanity, gives us all that we need to know about the character. To be Count Malvolio. Note, the audience often laughs at this. I use their laughter as motivation for Malvolio's next line. In my universe, characters are allowed to be aware of the audience, and when Malvolio hears them laughing at him, he fires back with a justification for his dream. There is an example for it. The lady of the Strachey married the yeoman of the wardrobe. By the way, nobody seems to know who the Lady of the Strachey is. Some online commenters have noted that the Italian word strachey actually means rags, so that a yeoman of the wardrobe might actually be of a higher class than Lady of the Rags. Malvolio dips even deeper into his fantasy, one in which he is sleeping with Olivia, or at least has left her behind in a daybed, is wearing a branched velvet gown, and now has servants of his own who he refers to as his officers. He bosses them around, seeing himself as sending them off to bring Sir Toby before him, so that he can lecture Toby about his wicked drunkenness. In other words, in his fantasy, he is violating every norm of the class society. It is probably everything that Toby can do while he watches to restrain himself from jumping out of hiding and smacking Malvolio around. Act 2, Malvolio finds the letter. Noticing that the letter seems to have been written in Olivia's handwriting, Malvolio immediately searches it for clues. The first clue is the addressee, the intended recipient, written on the outside of the letter. To the unknown beloved, this and my good wishes. This marks it out as a love letter to an unknown beloved, a beloved who does not yet know that he is her beloved. Malvolio searches for more clues. Malvolio confirms that this is Olivia's handwriting, picking out 4 letters for the way that they match up with the way that his mistress shapes her C's, her U's, and her T's, and thus makes she her great P's. This is interesting because nowhere in To the Unknown Beloved, This and My Good Wishes are there any C's or P's. So Shakespeare is reaching for a joke purposefully here, and some experts in Elizabethan ribaldry have pointed out that the combination of C-U-T is a suggestion of a woman's nether region, which might be why, and thus makes she her great P's. Just saying. Malvolio unseals the letter and immediately sees that it is laid out on the page as a poem, as he reads, Jove knows I love, but who? Lips do not move, no man must know. The poem is missing a 4th line, the key rhyming line, and Malvolio solves the mystery by filling in his own name as the missing 4th line, as clearly no man must know matches in both rhythm and rhyme to Malvolio. This is followed by another stanza. I may command where I adore, but silence like a Lucrece knife, with bloodless stroke my heart doth gore, M-O-A-I doth sway my life. It's another series of clues. She may command him, Malvolio, as he is her servant. Her need for silence is killing her, much as Lucrece knife cut Lucrece. Lucrece appears in Shakespeare's epic poem, The Rape of Lucrece, and her love is somehow connected to those 4 letters, M-O-A-I. This is one of Shakespeare's puzzles that remains largely unsolved. Many have conjured just what M-O-A-I might stand for, and some have noted that moving the letters around brings us to I-A-M-O, or I am Olivia, who supposedly wrote the letter. But we are also intended to laugh at Malvolio for doing kind of just the same things, mixing the letters around to make them fit his name instead, so maybe we'll never solve that riddle. Personally, what I find funny is that Malvolio is so slow to pick up that the letter M also leads off his name, and that the other 3 letters are also present in his name. And then, suddenly, Malvolio notices that the 2 stanzas of poetry are followed by prose. Soft, here follows prose. How could he not have noticed this before? You may come up with your own way of making sense of this, but I solve it by having Malvolio unfold only the top third of a tri-folded piece of paper. Once he unfolds the 2 lower thirds, he can see that there are lines running from the left margin all the way to the right. The first line in prose reads, If this fall into thy hand, revolve. The author of the note is telling Malvolio to revolve in the sense of altering his behavior, but Shakespeare doesn't write out his stage direction, so we always have to imagine what physical activity Shakespeare might have been suggesting. I can never resist having Malvolio take this word entirely literally by turning around 360 degrees as if that will somehow bring about the magic result. It generally gets a laugh. Another series of clues follow, each of which imply that Olivia is the author and he is the subject. And in the process of making each incremental discovery, his excitement spirals unbearably through the roof. What makes this monologue work is that we see Malvolio grow in confidence and excitement with every word he reads, while we know that there is no truth behind the things he imagines. Along with the discoveries, there are also directions. Malvolio is to cast thy humble slough and appear fresh, be opposite with a kinsman, surly with servants, let thy tongue tang arguments of state, put thyself into the trick of singularity. While Malvolio interprets these as habits of Olivia's liking, we can be fairly certain, given that Maria actually composed the letter, that they are personal traits that Olivia loathes. The letter also reminds Malvolio that Olivia commended his yellow stockings with crossed garters. We can be pretty sure that that commendation was ironic at best. Along with directions, there are suggestions of promises. Go to, thou art made. Malvolio will be a made man, a servant no longer, but a count. Also, in signing off, the writer describes herself as she that would alter services with thee. This may simply be the suggestion that she would change roles to serve him as if he were her new master, or it may be sexually suggestive. Just saying. Act 3. Malvolio spirals into ecstasy, determined to follow the letter's directions completely. And here, he actually becomes an object of our pity. However mean-spirited or ambitious he may be, he has become truly touched by the notion that my lady loves me. It's a warm human impulse to imagine that everybody deserves love, and for a moment, even Malvolio does too, which makes the way that Maria and Toby will eventually torment him just a little too mean-spirited. He goes into spasms of delight, thanking his stars for his happiness before finally noticing that there is a postscript following the note. How did he not notice this until now? He unfolded the entire page and read through the signature lines signed, "The Fortunate Unhappy." I treat the PS as a kind of a border surrounding the whole note, so that as Malvolio reads the postscript, he has to chase it along the bottom of the page, up the right side, across the top, and back down the left side again. And I think that reinforces just how badly Maria, who wrote this note, wanted to mock him in the process of reading it. She gives him more directions. He is to smile in the presence of Olivia to acknowledge his mutual interest, which means that Malvolio must have a particularly unattractive smile, as malevolent, bad-tempered people often do. And I have him immediately practice that smile as he chases these words up and down to read, "Therefore, in my presence, still smile, dear my sweet, I prithee." And there, amid his wild anticipations of love and money and probably sex, Malvolio climaxes with, "Jove, I thank thee. I will smile. I will do everything thou wilt have me." And exit. If you'd like to see this speech, you can request it as part of my one-man show, Lot O' Shakespeare, alongside speeches from a potential 37 different plays on Sunday, October 25th at 8 p.m. Central Time on Facebook Live, or on Monday, October 26th at 8 p.m. 2020 on Zoom. Lot O' Shakespeare is one of 10 one-man plays I'm performing in rotation. All of these shows are available to tour to your school, your theater, your conference, or festival, either in person or virtually. I am Tim Mooney of the Timothy Mooney Repertory Theater, and we are a not-for-profit organization dedicated to inspire, inform, enlighten, educate, and entertain. If you'd like to support our mission, please swing on over to timmoneyrep.com, hit the donate button, or join our Patreon campaign, which has fun perks such as books, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and sometimes free performances. at patreon.com/TimMooneyRep. Thanks for joining me. See you on stage.